In this video, we are going to learn some very important stuff. We are going to learn something about functions and the correct signature of the entry point, aka the main function. And we are going to learn or get to know a tool we can use for finding some errors in our code. I start off by using what we already know. And first of all, why do we want to use functions? That is the first question of today's lesson. And I will answer this question with a very simple problem. But of course, real life problems are a little bit more complicated than this one. Let's say I have 3 integer variables. I don't know, okay. And I go ahead and take another one. And in the last variable, I'm going to calculate the sum and factorial of my 3 variables. So first I will multiply a and b and add c. So we see we have an easy calculation, but let's say this calculation will be used in our program over and over again. So we have the same line over and over again. And we are going to use a function to take this procedure and encapsulate it within a named function. The use of this is that we don't have to write the same lines of code over and over again. Instead, we are just calling a name that will store this routine and call that for us. It will be a little bit clearer soon. But the second use for a function is maybe you have 20 or 30 lines of code and maybe they don't appear twice in your code, or maybe they just appear twice in your code. It doesn't matter, you still can use a function for these lines of code, because maybe you want to give those lines a specific name. So that would also be a good use for a function actually. It's like using a comment really, just that you are using a function, taking your code away from the main function or whatever function inside you're calling the routine. Okay, let's just go ahead and define a new function for our math problem we defined here. And the first thing is I want to tell you all the things you need for a function. The first thing is we have a return type. I type that like this now, but you just lean back and watch the video now. Don't type that, because that's not real C code. You also see I get some syntax highlighting here. That's not what I really want. We have a function name. We have the brackets here, and we have some arguments here, and that's how we declare a function. And you can see some similarities between our entry point and this construct over here. That is because it is the same thing really. So we have a return type here which is void, which just means this function doesn't return anything. We have a name which is main. This is the C standard name, so we can't change that for our entry point, but for other functions we can give whatever name we like. And we have an argument list that is empty here. And we have some calculations made by the main function in this case. And we can do the same for our own functions. So we go ahead and define a function, and this function can do whatever we want it to do. So first of all, when we define a function, we have to think about these 3 things. the first thing is the return type. This is pretty easy because in our case we have a calculation. We have a product of two integer values, which is again an integer value, and we add an integer value, so this will return an integer inside of the variable d, which leads us to our return type integer. The function name, maybe I just call that product sum, which is of course not a very good name, but in our case I'm not very sure if one can find a good name. The arguments, in our case we have three arguments, a, b and c, so we take actually I call them a little bit differently. So that's just to show something later. And what we are going to do now is we take this bit of code here and add it here. Just this belongs to the product and this belongs to the sum. Okay. And one thing is important about the return type. Whenever you have a non-void value here, you need to have the return keyword inside of the curlies, and it must be at the end of the function. So we are returning d. Also, this approach is not very efficient because we only have one line of code. We can also go ahead and do this. No need a special value d here for the return type. In our main function, we can call that product sum now. So we can say a times b plus c equals, and now we can use the name product sum, and you can see that Visual Studio Code already tells us, okay, this product sum will return an integer value and it needs 3 integer values. And actually the return type will be our output in this case. So now we can say A, B and C, and we will get the expected result of 22, I hope. One thing to note is we have our variables A, B and C, and we initialized them with specific values, and when we call that function, we will just give the values to our product sum function. That means if we change one of these variables inside that function, our original variables will not know anything about that change. So all the changes made here are just kept inside of the product sum function and will not affect our main function variables. But we will talk about this specific behavior in another video later. Okay, first of all we want to compile this because we never actually tried our program. And we will see that this will compile just well and will just produce the expected result. If it will result in anything, we get 14, which is kind of not what we expected. Oh, this is the name of my program, so this is because I'm in yes, this is because I always try to do this, and of course that's not very clever. Okay, so we get the expected result. I just do that again, so we have that here. And the next thing is we want to take a look at the correct signature for our entry point main, and I want to show you the problem with our current signature, because this signature is not allowed according to the C standard. So what we did is we produced a warning, and we cannot see that warning when I just compile that file. We can see it will compile just fine. It will don't tell us anything about some errors in our code, and we can change that by adding the parameter -w all, which means warnings and all, so it will show all warnings. And by adding this parameter, we will see that we actually get a warning that we didn't see before. And this warning states that the return type of our main function is not an integer, because usually that one must be an integer value. Also, we can see this is -w main. There are several categories for the warnings. If you use w all, you will get all the warnings. You can also just show the warnings of a specific category. That will also work out. That is the meaning of this point here. Okay, good. We saw that we obviously have some we have done something not right, something not according to the C standards, and this is our return type, because void is actually not allowed here, and we have to use int. And as I told you before, whenever we take a non-void return type, we have to return a value. And this, of course, also means we have to set a return value for our main entry point. 0 means no error. This is just a historical value. If you set any error, any other value than 0 to the return of the main function, this means your program didn't terminate right. So you can see this as an error code if you want. So 0 means no error code, and if you set any other number here, this means your program actually encountered unexpected behavior. Okay, also this would be just fine now. So the warning is gone, and we also don't get any other warnings, but the main signature gets a little bit bigger, because it can also take some arguments, and I want to teach those to you too in this video. So the first argument is of type integer, and the second argument is a little bit more strange. It's a character with 2 stars. And what this means is the first 3 letters stand for argument. So as I told you, in our own function we have 3 arguments or parameters. You can call them whatever you like. And the first argument is the argument count. That's what the C stands for. And this is actually the number of arguments we are passing to our program. And the second one is the argument vector. And this is actually some kind of special array. You can just imagine that is an array, and just you just have to add these 2 stars. In another video we will explain why. Just do this for now. Okay, we will see that this program still will compile just fine, and we don't get any errors. Just one thing about the parameters. The GCC program is also just a program like that we wrote here, and it also takes some parameters or arguments. The first argument is our input file. So you can imagine the first argument, this file name and path, will be inside of the argument vector array, as will be the name of the output file and our debugging options. So what this is really is just the argument list we are passing to any program. So maybe you are playing computer games and you know some computer games can start in windowed mode or in full screen mode. Usually this will be covered by arguments like the dash windowed or something. Maybe you encountered this argument before, and this is really nothing else than these parameters. Okay, yeah, that's pretty much all I wanted to cover in this video. It also was a lot, I think. We will go on working with functions, so if you didn't catch all in this video, don't worry. You will have enough chances to do so in the next videos. The next video will be about prototypes for functions, which is very essential and important to know. See you then.